Hello, everyone, and thank you for being here. Today, we are welcoming Wei Guo from University of Tokyo, who is assistant professor there, and he established there the International Field Phenomics Research Laboratory. And so he's doing computer vision work, mainly computer vision work on field phenotyping. And he will present us his recent work about deep learning based plant phenotyping with limited labels. So the floor is yours.
Okay. Thank you, David, for introducing me, and thank you all for meet here to have this seminar with me. By the way, I'm actually a big fan of the Sony camera. I'm not sure if you have any connections with developing the cameras, but just like to say that because I fly a lot of UAVs in the field, and I felt that the Sony camera is the best for UAV image analysis. So the contents of my topic for today, as you can tell, is about the using the computer vision techniques on the agricultural field. So like myself over here, I show you here. Here is actually myself in the cyber-physics world. I'm marrying the plants, and marrying the plants in a high throughput way is my work. And maybe now it's already become part of my hobby. So first, I would like to spend about 1 minute to explain some words definition in case that you are not familiar with the plant phenotyping. So basically, we have a new field called plant phenomics. The plant phenomics is a study of the plant growth, performance, and the composition by the high-dimensional phenotypic data on from organism to wide scale. So the phenotypic data, which is actually we call it phenotype in agriculture. For example, the height of the plant, the flower of the plant, the leaf area of the plant, and if it's affected by the diseases or not, like those kind of things. And it is affected by both genotype and the environment. And the word phenotyping is actually the action that we are doing, so marrying the plant phenotype. So, but basically, plant phenotyping is not a new word. So, how agronomists, operators do the plant phenotyping? It's old work. So basically, even now, we are still running the same style as shown in this picture, as you can see. So, for example, if you want to measure the plant height, basically you have two people in one group. One is taking the ruler, read the number of the height, and another one is record it on the paper notes. And as you can tell, this is a super labor intensive and time-consuming work. So people are looking for the innovations for next generation of the plant phenotyping to save their time and efforts. And then the innovation comes. So the newest techniques from the IT, right, the information science like IoT, robotics, artificial intelligence, they are bringing the innovations to the plant phenotyping society. So here is actually an example from an article published at Nature in 2017. So it says like plant biology is getting a high-tech upgrade that will enable the researchers to collect the data faster and in more detail. So before we start the main content of today's presentation, I would like to introduce a little bit more about my lab and myself and what we are doing. So yes, we are the University of Tokyo, but my lab is located at the countryside of Tokyo City. So here you can see the central side of the Tokyo. Three big ports, Shinjuku, Tokyo, and Shinagawa. We are here. We have like about 30 hectares of the farmland inside this Tokyo region. and we have three professors, include me, and we have like students and postdocs from all over the world. So the research topics of this lab is about mainly three parts. The first part is about image analysis, which is what I am doing. And another part is about field sensing, like how to connecting the data from the field. And the third part is combining this field sensed data and image analyzed data together to find out some good ways to help the agriculture. So just a short introduction of the field sensing part. Basically, as you can see, we use this IoT devices. We use this kind of robots. And as I know that David is also developing this kind of small robots for this urban agriculture. I'm not sure if you are still running that project now, but I would like to see how you progressed later. So the small robots, the drones, the scanners, a lot of things. The purpose is to connecting the multi-scale data from the field. So, for example, like this. So we run the robots, we set up the IoT, we fly the UAV, we do everything on the field. We are not harvesting the crops, but we are harvesting the data from the farmland. And then we do, at least myself, do this kind of image processing, use like image processing and machine learning techniques in the different scale, like from the cell to the field scale. Okay, so here is today's main contents. So I would like to introduce some typical examples of how we are using the machine learning and deep learning to run the plant phenotyping. And also, the most important part is what is the current limitations of the deep learning-based plant phenotyping, because everyone now is running the deep learning on all the different fields, right? So there are some short words for the words. I think you are all familiar with it. So first, before start, I guess you are all the experts of the AI, artificial intelligence, machine learning, deep learning, but I still want to clarify what is the difference. Actually, I also don't have a clear answer at this moment. What is AI? But at least I can tell that, or I can feel that one thing is like currently, a lot of people are saying that they are using AI. It's just because they are running the deep learning. So deep learning basically is a part of the machine learning. So please correct me if I'm right, or if you do not agree with me. But basically, I think at this moment, there's not too much surprising AI techniques coming out. People are running the machine learning and the deep learning for the different field. So we're also running the deep learning for the plant phenotyping. I mean, for the agricultural applications. So how we run it? There's one example over here. So basically, like every of you know, input the image. If you run the machine learning stuff, you need to find out what kind of features you wanted to extract from your picture, right? Take an example of this soybean. What we are trying to do is to find out the best variety of the soybean instead of the hundreds of the candidates to make sure that we gain the biggest yield from it. And then once you had the feature, and then you put it into a kind of machine learning model. You can use decision tree, you can use neural network, you can use anything, and then you can say like, okay, this part is good. This caps of the soybean is not good. This might be, I don't know, maybe good or maybe not good. So this kind of thing, and then it comes to the deep learning, right? So how will the deep learning based phenotyping do? Actually, it's becoming super boring. In simple word, it will only require the users to input their data and define the output, and then use a black box to handle the most difficult part. I mean, the feature extraction and the model selection part. So the only thing that we need to do is to choose a good network structure for the task. And it's also simple. Why it's simple? I mean, yeah, for the computer scientist, it's not a simple task. But for us, as coming from the application set, right? From application set, it's simple because of the third AI boom, so-called third AI boom, there's huge amount of the frameworks and the networks are already available online. And taking the object detection as an example, you can find over here, like, yeah, if you access to the GitHub, you find the resources, the source code, and you know which platform suits for you, and you just take them and run it on your own dataset, right? So if you wanted to understand a little bit more about what the plant scientists do, the deep learning, so maybe you please go to this link and play around with this CNN explainer, which are originally coming from this paper. So we modified it for the plant, I mean the weight classification, to show how the deep learning are working for the distinguish the plants. So you can play with this link later if you like to do it. So finally, what is the process of the AI? Maybe it's deep learning based on phenotyping. I still don't have a clear answer at this moment, but maybe there are already a lot of pictures like this are existing online, like this, right? So basically, most of the time, people reinforce the AI when they are using the machine learning or deep learning to solve the plant phenotyping problems. So I will use AI for a little bit while, but please remember, for me, at this moment, it's equals to deep learning. Because I just wanted to explain you a little bit about the art of the Chinese characters. So basically, AI is in English is called artificial intelligence, right? Please have a look at this kanji. Kanji is coming from the traditional, original coming from the traditional Chinese characters. It actually tells the secret of the AI. So these two kanji, they are the same in both Japanese and Chinese, means artificial in English, and it also have several different meanings. The one important meaning of these two kanji is the labor. It also equals manual work and labor. So here comes to the secret of the artificial intelligence. It's actually the labor intensive work at this moment. So why I'm speaking like this? Take a look at this picture. Well, this is a data annotation company in China, or you can find the same kind of company in South Asia, like India, like Vietnam, as the same. So a huge amount of the labels are sitting at the front of the computer to annotate the data, and then feed those data to the big deep learning deep neural networks to train a so-called AI model. So why people are putting this much effort on labeled data? Yeah, just everyone knows the bigger, the better, right? The more training data you have, the better performance the deep learning will have. So come back to how people are doing this kind of labeling works. It's actually like this, right? For example, if you wanted to detect the head of the weight, you need to draw the bounding box on the pictures. If you want to detect human, you need to draw the bounding box of the human, right? If you want to detect the cars, you have to draw the bounding box of the cars. So that's a time-consuming work for every field, and it is also a super how to say boring work for our agricultural field. Why? So the feature of the agriculture task for the object detection is a little bit different with the generic object detection. As most of the time, what we are trying to detecting It's most of the time the single task, but they are existing a lot inside one picture. So for example, I show a picture that taken from the UAV. This is a picture of the sorghum field, which is in Australia. Because the one picture is too much, so I only show 10% of this image. So please say just 10% of this image, we or annotator have to draw more than 500 of the bounding box on this picture. So just please image how many pictures you can label if you're sitting over there as a creative person or as a researcher. So it's super boring and time-consuming work for agriculture. By the way, if you wanted to label a whole picture, not 10%, you need to label like more than 4,000 on just one image. So I did it. I did it for a lot when I was a PhD student, but I really do not want to do it again. So we wanted to solve this problem. To solve this problem in different solutions. Actually, this is the main topic of today. So I kind of started to think 2 or 3 years before how to solve this short of the data issue for the deep learning based plant phenotyping. And here I will briefly give my opinions in listed 3 perspectives. This 1, 2, 3 perspectives with the example of the scientific paper that you can follow later if you are interested in. So the first one is the using of the international community. Actually, this is a collaborated work with French collaborators. So the paper is here. So basically, every researcher in their institute, they need to prepare some of the data for their own task, right? But they do not want to prepare a lot. And if you only prepare your data on your field, that's a single, it's a non-diverse data. So you won't get a globally good model for the task, right? So we basically, the idea, the conception of this paper is to bring everyone's power together to build a big and diverse enough dataset together with all the international communities to try to make a good model. So the motivation for this task is the backside is like we, the agronomists or the breeders, wanted to know the number of the weight head per unit area, because that is one of the factors that can show the potential yield of a field. So the question we had for this task is like how many images that we need to prepare and how many images that we need to annotate, right? But this is not a easy question to answer. So we come with this idea to put everyone's data together first and to see if we can find out something new to write. So as a result, we have collected a huge amount of the data from 7 different countries with 9, maybe now it's more than 10 institutions to have a big and diverse enough data set. So this is actually the first data set that labeled for the weight tasks. So it provides a various environment and varieties from 7 different countries, and it provides more than 190,000 label targets to the community. And then we realized we not only want to connect in the data, we also want to have better solutions to work for our tasks. So we can build the deep learning model, but we can attract people from the scientific work, the data scientists to build the better solutions than us. There are always some people are smarter than us, right? So we put this data set to the Kaggle build our competition last year. So the motivation for this work is actually, as I just said before, so there's always someone smarter than us, right? There is always something that we need to learn from them. So we run this Kaggle computation. I hope you are all familiar with the process of how people are running the Kaggle, and we put a price on it, and we are trying to make this computation. So we made this computation. We use the data from the European countries as a training data set. Oh yeah, European and North American countries as a training data set. And then we put the data sets from Asian countries to let people to challenge. So we had this challenge, and the good news is that we actually attracted more than 2,000 teams all over the world for 3 months. And we gain a lot of knowledge from the data scientists to help us to build a better solution for the agriculture in the future. And the most funny thing is like the topic, the first 3 winners are all coming from different countries. So the power of the international collaboration and the international job is great. And the second solution that we have been working is I just simplify it like think before taking the action. So I will take an example to explain you how we did it. So the paper is here. So there are 2 papers on the left side and on the right side. The left side is the old paper. It was a paper that a part of my PhD work. So why I put these 2 papers together is just because they have strong connections. So in order to explain this idea, I have to put this old paper as well to show you. So the purpose behind these 2 papers is to detect the flower for the first paper and the head for the second paper of the paddy rice. So paddy rice is a stem food for the Asian countries. So in order to detect the flower, the first paper over here, it is using the traditional image processing method. So it's targeting to detect the flowering timing of the paddy rice for the breeder purpose. So as you can see here, so basically the paddy rice will start flowering during the noontime, but because of the global warming, if the temperature is too high, you don't get a good yield of the paddy, even they are flowering. So basically, for those who never see the paddy rice flowering, here is a picture that I took in the field to show what is the flower. So those white ancestors are the flower of the paddy rice. Then once we had this paper, 7 years later, got a new request that from the agronomist. So agronomists, they want the hiding time, hiding date. So this date can be used to determine when to add more fertilizer, for example. Or for those who are not familiar with the paddy rice, so I show you here, over here. So the head is coming out and start flowering, and then you get the greens after the podders goes to this spikelet. So the motivation for this work, I mean for the new work, is to we wanted to build a deep learning model that can teach the hiding date from the images and judge when this paddy rice moved to this stage. So basically, in the perspective of the agriculture, it is a date that the head number of the paddy rice reached to the 50% of the total number, well, what they will have. So we wanted to train a deep learning model, but as you all know, we need to label the image first, but we do not want to label it, right? So it comes back to the motivation of this task, of this new task. Since we already have the previous work that in order to extracting the features from the images, we actually already cropped a lot of patches from the image. So please remember this work is actually done in 2013. So at that moment, I cannot run deep learning. So I use the back of the visual words to extracting the features of the flowering heads. And another important thing is, as I told you before, in agriculture, in the paddy rice area, the flowering always happens where the head are coming out. So detecting the heading date, this question could be transferred to detecting the phenomenon of the heading inside a picture. So then we might do not need to draw the bounding box because we might do not need to run the detection task for this job. So since we already have these patches, we can easily build a classifier, use deep learning, right? Like this, So you have the pictures, you have the classifier, and then you can run the sliding window on the whole pictures. And for each slided window, the classifier will judge if it belongs to the flower or not. Or you can say if it belongs to the head or not. And then finally, what you have a bunch of the numbers of the regions, not the number of the heads. All right, so please follow me a little bit tightly. The number of the region that you detected from the whole image, and then we can statistically take the whole amount of these detected regions to judge if it reached to the flowering stage or not. So this is become to a pure classification problem, but can solve the detection requirement. We are not detecting the head, but we had what we want, the heading date, right? Please ask me if you have questions. I'm not sure if I explained it well. But anyway, so, as a list, we will have a good prediction or estimation of the heading date from taking the images that taken in the field. So it's basically you have like a 1 or 2 days shift, I mean the error, but it's super acceptable for the agronomist. For your reference, the traditional crop model gives around 3 to 6 days errors if they wanted to predict the heading date using the crop model. And last, I would like to introduce the methodology part. So there are two papers I wanted to introduce. The first one is this one. This paper actually is required to count the number of the sorghum per plot from the UAV images. So although I have the similar paper for the paddy rice that are using the classification before, but we do not want to use the same trick again, right? So what we are going to do, so we come to want to use the typical deep learning method to solve this problem. So what we want to do is to go with the bounding box solution. So then we need to put the labels, like most of the time it should be me to do the annotation for the deep learning. But I still do not want to put too much of the labels. That is me. So the motivation of this work becomes to, okay, how many images that we need to do to label? If I got, for example, 1,000 image from the field, do I need to label all of them, or do I only need to label a part of them? So in order to solve this problem, actually, I finally did a label intensive survey on this dataset. This is about 300 image over here. So labeled all of them. And then we understood, please look at this picture. We understood that if you label one picture, or if you label all of the 300 pictures, you will have the difference, but you won't have too much difference where you reach to such amount of the data. So look at this picture. So basically for this data set, I'm not sure for all the cases, but at least for this data set, label 40 images from the whole field, so the whole image dataset is actually enough. Here, right? Enough to reach the highest performance. So that's fine. So we know that we need to label not too much of them, but we still have to label it, right? And as you all know that I do not want to spend too much of my energy to draw the bounding box like all the time for the same data set. So I started to think how to do it. Yes, ask the human to label it, but not too much. So we had this solution as shown in here. So basically, we randomly pick up some of the images from the original data image data set, and then ask the human to label part of it, and then put it into the model to first generate a model. No matter it's good or not, just generate a model, and then apply this model back to the left of the dataset, and then you have the candidate labels, and then ask the human to verify it. So instead of label the image from scratch, you just need to check if your model lost something or your model misdetected something. And then by running this kind of rotation 2 or 3 times, I realized that I can actually save about 4 times time cost compare with label the image from the scratch. And as you know, when you run this kind of circle a lot, you will have a big amount and the diverse enough training data set for train a model. And then you will always have a good model to detect and count the sorghum head for our tasks. But still, we are still left in some problems over here. So please remember this problem. We only randomly pick some of the image from the dataset, but we actually don't know which image should be the best to label. So it comes to the next solution that we proposed. So the paper is here. The motivation of this work is actually inspired by the previous methods. So we are going to solve to answer the question that we left for the previous work, like which image shall we label, right? Shall we annotate? So here's the question, the motivation. Which image shall we annotate? And which part of an image is the most important part for a human to do the annotator, which the deep learning cannot do it. So it's not easy to solve it immediately in a fully automatic way. And then we had this one, as I showed you before, active learning, right? So we put human, but not too much of the human power. So partially human power into the circle again. So active learning, right? As you all familiar with active learning, the whole process of the active learning is actually shown here. I don't read all of them, but the basic conception is like you ask people to do something, and then you feed it back to your computer, and then your computer come back to you, and you correct it and come back to your computer. It's run this kind of cycle again and again. But however, please remember the traditional active learning actually requires the human to label the image like typically, like draw the bounding box if you wanted to run a object detection task on it. That is still a kind of time label intensity for us. So we pick up a new solution that we added one more step in between this this part and this part. So what is it? So we wanted to reduce the human work to the least. So only a little bit of the human work is enough. So we prepared 3 data pools in this solution. So one is called unlabeled pool, which will have all the raw data sets inside it. And then another is called weekly labeled pool, which require the human to do a tiny small labeling work For example, here we ask the human to do the dot annotation. So basically, instead of draw the bounding box, you just click on the object you want your computer to detect. And then from this one to automatically to the strong labeled pool. So 3 pools: unlabeled pool, weakly labeled pool, and strong labeled pool. And then this strong labeled pool will be provided to the model to generate the best detection model for the task. So from just 1 more minute for this part. From here to here, we actually simply use the region proposal network plus the human dot annotated region to teach the computer where is the right place to generate the training data, where is not the right place. And then since we have this kind of process, because we have teaching, we have the computer proposal, then what the computer can understand is, okay, this part is super easy for a simple model to run, where this part is not easy. So they will come back to the human to like, okay, please label this image on this part, because this part I'm not quite sure if I did the right answer or not. And then human will teach it again. So by running this kind of circle, we actually can answer the questions like where to label and what to label. But you still have to run all the data set. It's not perfect, but you have this kind of solutions coming out. Okay, so almost running out of the time. Let's just quickly show you the result. Yeah, it's not too much surprising, but the result shows that we're saving another 50% compared with the traditional activity learning method. So it's good. We save a little bit more time for data annotation. So it's not it's a little bit move away from the label intensive limitations for the deep learning. All right, come to the conclusion. So I hope I sent a right message to all of you for today, that I'm feeling like it is always good to have a big, diverse enough annotated data to train the deep learning model, especially for the agricultural plant phenotyping purpose. But we do not want to rely on the label intensive approach, which means you put a lot of money to the countries who have the cheap labels to label the data for you. So we wanted to be a little bit more smarter and more efficient. And then I had these 3 solutions that had been tested, which are a little bit more efficient than before. And we are trying to put this kind of effort into the routine for the newer deep learning tasks that we are facing. And finally, I would like to left the last message from myself. So what if I do not want to annotate even only one image? So for example, if I got a task to detect the okay, let's say apples. All right, if I want to detect apples, but I have a huge amount of the data that are taken in from the apple orchard, but I just do not want to label any of them. What are we going to do? So this is a kind of announcement, because we are actually submitted a paper to answer this question. It's just submitted, so I cannot explain more. But the conception is like, okay, if you want to detect apples, look at the internet, search from the internet. If you can find out something like similar with the apples, and then it already has the labels. For example, the orange. So the orange is a famous fruit in the world. So you can actually find out the data sets that are already opened from others' work, and then that already had the labels on it. So what are we going to do? Thanks for the big improvement of the GAN performance. We actually kind of can using the GAN trick. We are not using GAN to generate something new. We are using the GAN trick to grab the annotated information from the already existing dataset to the new dataset. So for example, as you can see over here, this is apple actually are not growing on the apple tree, it's growing on the orange tree. And this is a tomato, which is not growing on the tomato plants. It's still growing on the orange trees. But be remember that the most important thing is we are not generating the pictures of the oranges or of the tomatoes or the apples. We are actually trying to grab, so still the label information from this already existing orange dataset to generate a new training dataset for the new data set that we do not have any labeled information on it. That's it. Thank you for listening. I'm ready for answer the questions.
Thank you very much, Wei. So are there any questions for Wei?
Hello, Wei. This is Ayan. Thank you for the nice talk. I have a previous question. What do you think of using synthetic data when you don't have this annotation? When you have this annotation problem, or because I mean we have been working a bit on the plan model development, using some L system rules or things like this. So, what do you think that this synthetic data might help in future if we can appropriately create some biologically relevant structure for these cases?
Thank you very much for your question. That's a very good question. Yes, actually I didn't introduce, but we are also using the synthetic data set for this agricultural tasks. But there's one problem existing for the synthetic data set. Is it is too thick. So
yes.
So the problem comes yes, synthetic data will help, but they cannot fully solve the problem if you only use synthetic data. And then it comes to us we need to find out a good combination in between the real data and the synthetic data together.
Yes.
And and another important point for the synthetic data is that it can generate the plants. Right, as you are running the plant model, it can generate the plant, but the problem is it cannot generate the real growth of the plant. So, for example, you have a plant in 3-leaf stage, and then if you wanted to generate a 6-leaf stage plant, that is not easy for us at this moment.
When the plant is growing much older, so that kind of state, that's what you are saying?
Oh, yes, yes.
Okay, yes, and also probably do you think that texture is a big factor? Because sometimes not only the geometry, but the texture, because we were also having similar type of problem with some synthetic data. Texture might be a big problem, I guess. The illumination lighting conditions also.
Yes, the light condition is a big problem, but it can be solved by light simulation.
Yeah, like a topographic techniques. Yeah.
Yes. However, the texture is another big problem, as you said. So you cannot fake the texture.
Yes.
At least as I know at this moment, most of the generator cannot generate a good texture on it.
That's true. That's true. Okay.
Yeah, but anyway, if you are, we are actually, I didn't show this task, but I have to show this slide again. So we are trying to use the synthetic data to distinguish the weight, because there's too many weight species existing in the world. And if you wanted to train a good, the global enough model for distinguish the weight, you have to find them out. And the problem for us is we are growing the weight and take the pictures, but we cannot get all of the seed.
Of course, yeah. It's exponential.
yeah, so we are kind of started to seek these pictures from the dictionary. I mean the picture dictionary of the weight, like the books, and then we pick up those pictures, and then we try to train a synthetic data set generator to generate the data from those pictures, because those pictures are collected by the plant scientist who is really keen to know all the different species. But the problem comes like we don't have the different growth stage of that. So we are still stuck on this side. So
okay.
Yeah, if you are interested in this part, just write me an email and we can have more discussion.
Thank you very much. Yeah, because we were thinking of this type of things. That's why I was curious if you were thought about these things. Okay, sure. Maybe
That's
we'll
great.
see in the future.
Yeah, that's great. Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other question? Maybe I have a few questions, like
Yes.
the the active learning framework you presented. I was not sure. Is the region proposal network at the top coming from the object detector at the bottom, or is it a different network?
Oh, it's coming from the object detector. So sorry. Yeah. You still have a region proposal network that are giving this roughly a lot of candidate regions for one image. So the only difference is that we already had this dot existing on the image. So you can just put on this those dots on the region proposal stuff, and then you will pick up the most reliable proposed regions for next step.
Okay. And I also have a more general question, which is about how could this method be used by farmers? Because I clearly see the point of using computer vision for plant breeders or agronomists.
Yes.
But actually, in the team in Sony CSR, we are really dedicated to provide tools for farmers. And do you see a future for computer vision for farmers, and how could they use it?
Oh, well, this is a very tough question for me. I was kind of seeking for this how we can make this useful for real agriculture production. And it's difficult to answer at this moment, but I think it would be great we have the companies like you, what you are doing, to provide the intermediate tools to the farmers, not directly from the technique to the farmers. For example, like the tractors companies, they provide the tractors to the farmers, and then maybe they can add this kind of computer vision techniques on top of their tractor, and then they can make their tractor a little bit smarter, and then they can provide this kind of kit to the farmers. As long as I know, it's very difficult at this moment to provide this kind of techniques directly to the farmers. I actually had a trial series before, like what we met in Montpellier. I was presenting the peach tree work that's aiming to help the peach farmers to train the shape of their trees, right? So that actually became to a product. So I transferred my knowledge to the company, and they made the product, and then they started providing this kind of service to the local government and the farmers, and then the problem comes out is like the farmers, they even don't have a computer that can run the OpenGL to rotate that 3D model on it. So they said, oh, it's not useful. My machine froze immediately. Don't you have an iPad? No. Okay. So the product is like sleeping over there for like 2 years.
Okay.
So yeah, I hope your team and your company will build more intermediate and cheaper products to the real users in the future.
Okay, and I also had another question about. I thought it's very interesting that you pointed at the kanjis for artificial intelligence.
Yes.
And I noticed that although artificial writes the same in Chinese and Japanese, but it seems like intelligence is not the same. So could you comment on that?
Oh yeah, that's a very interesting question. I love kanji a lot, and I always compare the kanji and the meaning of the kanji in between Japan and China. Sometimes there's a big difference, but for this one, the intelligence part, actually it's not too much difference. So in Chinese, we like to use this one a lot, but if you speak this one, we can also understand. Yes, that is that means intelligence, but it also means knowledge. But for this word, this word, it won't have a meaning of the knowledge. It just means intelligence.
Okay.
So a little bit tiny small difference.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you for asking the kanji.
Yeah, just a quick question. Did you see any like advantage or disadvantage of using like images from drones and images taken from a tractor camera or something? Do you think that like which can be much better or worse in this aspect?
Well, I think it strongly depends on what you are going to have.
Let's say for the weed detection problem, if I say so, drone image should be okay if we have like a top-down view. But do you think that like a protractor camera or things like this might be more useful because they have more high resolution or much closer view?
Yes, yes. So for me, I would actually pray for a hybrid solution.
Hybrid, yeah, so, that's what I'm going to ask. Yeah.
Yeah, I was kind of guessing your main purpose. For example, we are all now talking about the sustainable agriculture, right?
Yes.
The nature farming stuff. Mm-hmm. So the thing you wanted to do is to eliminate the weeds from the field. So there comes a problem like, yes, running the small robots on the ground is great. It has the highest resolution and it can control the robot arm to eliminate the weight. But the problem is you need a huge amount of the computation cost. Mm-hmm. So you have to use your camera always focusing on the ground and always running the frames, calculating the frames. So I would like to propose a hybrid solution, like you fly the drones first, and then you pick up the candidate regions that are actually needed for your robot to take care in detail. And then you send this map to the robot and drive your robot to the place that you need it to look in detail. And just scanning, this part, and then do the job it need to do, and then run away to another place. And then I think it will save more battery for this robot stuff. As we all know, I think the most limitation for the ground robot is about the battery life.
Yeah, and also I think drone images are might have not that much of resolution, so it might be faster to process this and then give the information to the robot to do more sophisticated tasks.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Also, maybe fusing information might be interesting, like a multi-scale information, like a ground level and also the top level.
Yes. You are totally right. I super agree with you.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you.
Peter, you had a question?
Yeah, two questions.
Yes.
First one, first, thank you very much for your presentation. And then I had a first question. In one of your early slides, you showed profiles of plants and the sort of statistics and profiles of plants. So I was wondering, have you been working outside in the field on 3D imaging, or have you mostly been working on doing detection in 2D images?
Okay. I do the 3D analyzing for the morphologic traits of the plant, but I do not use 3D information to train the detectors. Like 3D based deep learning, I didn't use it at this moment. So most of the detection works I at this moment is based on 2D. And there's another thing I didn't show you is like, I do think most of the time it is not necessary to run this point cloud-based deep learning for our purpose. So what I do, I didn't show here, is like most of the time I create the point cloud from the images that are taken in the field, and then I pick up the region of the interest, and then project it back to the 2D images to and then run the deep learning on the 2D images. So yes, is that answer your question?
Yeah, it does. And do you? We have never done any 3D imaging outdoors because well, we're not at that stage yet. Do you? Is it? You know, one of the questions we had, how difficult it is to do these in outdoor conditions with wind, for example. Do you have like any feedback that you can give us on that?
Yes. I should prepare some slides for this topic. I do a lot of 3D reconstruction in the field, and yes, the biggest problem at this moment is the wind. So in order to solve this problem, we actually did several different solutions that I didn't show you today, but I can explain you. For example, for this robot, I show you here, this one, we kind of mount like 30 cameras on it and take the pictures simultaneously to avoid the wind affection in the field. Or this one, so you can see like 3 drones are flying at the same time. So it's a synchronized drone solution. So you fly the drones at the same time, and you can synchronize the camera together to let them take the pictures at the same time to do the 3D reconstructions. So it is difficult. So we did tried a lot of the different solutions, but I have to tell you, it is possible.
Okay, thank you. One last question, and it's a very practical question. I saw on one of your early slides that you were also using PHIS, PHIS, that is developed, I think, mainly in Montpellier for the database backend. So are you also contributing to the project?
Oh, I'm kind of a user of the PHIS.
Okay. Because we were looking also for database solutions, and it's one that's high on our list. So I'm not going to ask you publicly whether you like it or not, but it's interesting for us to see that you're also using it.
Yeah, I would suggest you to use it. It is good. It is a good system, and we work with the developers very closely in Montpellier. So I know it well. It is a good system. The only thing that might be, I'm not sure if you are still recording, right? The only problem is like, well, it will require you to input a lot of the metadata. So there's a lot of rules before you start to establish your. I mean, it is good, but for most of the agronomists, they might kind of, it's too much things to input. But it's good for the database. But yeah, anyway, I recommend it.
Okay, thank you very much for your answer.
Yeah, thank you. Any other question? So just I would like to notice also that Wei provide a lot of what he does on his GitHub account, and I think it's really great that his work is open source. So I encourage you to have a look at his GitHub account and his papers. And thank you again, Wei, for your presentation. Next week, we will have a presentation by Vittoria Colizza about the current epidemic and epidemiologic modeling. So I invite you to be there next week too. Okay. Goodbye.
Okay, thank you. Bye, everyone. I heard it. Thank you very much.